So Megyn Kelly has gotten herself into a little dust-up with Laura Ingalls.
Let's get ready to rumble! You can't handle the truth.
Hi, I'm Pastor Marty, and this is the Afternoon Drive. Make sure that you are subscribed to the channel. Once you are, smack the bell, click the word all. That will give you notification of my rants, my ravings, my undeniably flawless reasonings. Hey, please like and share this video. It's the only way that we can get the word out that we're here. Thank you so much for watching and being a part of the Afternoon Drive. Netflix is planning a reboot of the iconic TV show Little House on the Prairie. Now, I have to admit that I have watched Little House on the Prairie, watched it, when I was a kid, and eventually I kind of lost interest in the show. One, I got older, and then B, even the plot lines then began to become, in my mind, just implausible. And I was really done with it when they brought on James and Cassandra. And nothing against the two actors that played those characters. I wasn't into it. They tried to give us a brand new Nellie Olson and a girl named Nancy. Wasn't into that. And when Laura Ingalls was married to Alonzo and they brought a girl in to live with them, Shannon Doherty, who, black hair, pigtails, buck teeth. Oh, look, it's a new Laura. Wasn't into that, and I really wasn't into it when a whole new family moved into the Ingolls home, and just was totally not into it. Remember watching the very last, the big farewell where they blew up the town, thinking this is just ludicrous. This is what happens oftentimes to iconic characters and storylines. They kept it going longer than they should have, and by the end, it's just so over the top bad that you just it's ridiculous. It's kind of, I'm going to tiptoe into dangerous water here. I am a huge Sylvester Stallone fan. Love the Rocky franchise, but by Rocky 3. And even though that's, when I was a kid, that one was my favorite, Clubber Lang. But the truth is, Rocky 1 and 2, great cinematic movies, depth of story. You get into a couple of the first later rendition of Rocky, when he's talking to his grown adult son. Nothing hits you harder than life. And it's not what it takes to stop it, but can you get back up? I mean, it was depth of story. Rocky 3, they started to turn him into a cartoon character. And then that really happened with Rocky 4, where he went over to fight, Drago. And we won't even talk about, Rocky 5, where he's a street fighter living back in Philly, and all of a sudden, all the sophistication that he had gleaned after, winning the title and, being kind of a celebrity, he goes right back to the yo. They did the same thing with Rambo. Rambo 1, great movie. 2, here we go. And by 3, unbelievable. The one where I felt they redeemed the story was, the missionaries that hire him to take him into the jungle area, and I thought, okay, all right, we're back to a story. The last one, come on. But this happens, and now Netflix is going to, quote, reimagine the series. Right away, that was a problem. And it became a problem for Megyn Kelly. She saw that little phrase, reimagine the series, and took to Twitter to basically say, if they turn Little House on the Prairie into another woke project, that Megyn Kelly said that she is going to make it her life's mission to do what she has to do to make sure that the series absolutely fails. Well, this kind of pissed off Half Pint. Melissa Gilbert, who played Laura Ingalls. And she's not on Twitter. She's one of those libloons that, got to be in their own little echo chamber. And I had forgotten how liberal Melissa Gilbert was, because when you watch her on Little House on the Prairie, you just think of her as Laura Ingalls, and then you forget that these most of these actors, that when you take the script away from them, when you're not telling them stand here, wear this, and then say this, when they get to actually speak their own mind, you find out that, wow, this is why you people need a script being told what to say, because when it's your own you coming out of your mouth, it's rather frightening, which is why empty-headed people make great actors, because you're just pretending. So if I kind of tell you how to pretend, you can run with it. People who are truly real and authentic have a hard time pretending. So for whatever that's worth, you can take that. I'm sure I'll get lit up for that. All right, back to Megyn Kelly versus Melissa Gilbert. So Melissa Gilbert, on whatever platform she's on, tweeted out, but it's not Twitter or X, whatever they call it now. By the way, I'm not on there either. Said something to the effect of, hey, go back and rewatch the original series. It was very woke. We dealt with racism. Okay, I remember the episode with Todd Willis. Great episode. Them normalizing the relationships between white people and Indians, with the one episode was called Injun Kid. Great episode. Laura herself had encounters with Indians. I mean, all that was good stuff. We dealt with drug abuse. Albert getting addicted to morphine. Okay, I mean, that was a stretch even then. That was about that time, like I said, I start looking at these plot lines like, come on. We dealt with the R word. You can't say ape. Yeah, okay. Albert had a girlfriend. She was molested by the town blacksmith. A guy who, by the way, we only saw in that episode. The guy who had always been the blacksmith all of a sudden was replaced by this other guy who, in one episode, ends up becoming a predator against a 14-year-old girl, to which Albert gets blamed for it, etc., etc., etc. And we all know how that worked out. And of course, there was the whole women's rights thing, etc., etc., etc. Okay, that doesn't qualify the show as, quote, woke. It's not about dealing with current subject matter in an historical context. It's about how you deal with current issues in an historical context. So let me ask Ms. Gilbert, what have they got planned for the new Little House on the Prairie? See, when I first heard of the project, I'm like, leave it alone. Leave it alone. There are just certain things you don't remake. You don't redo. I thought it was insane that they, redid the Brady Bunch into a movie with different characters. Didn't work. They tried to do it with Leave It to Beaver. Didn't work. They tried to do it with the Dukes of Hazzard. Didn't work. They tried to do it with the Beverly Hillbillies. Didn't work. So my first objection to the new Little House series was, this isn't Michael Landon. This isn't Melissa Sue Anderson and Melissa Gilbert. It isn't Allison Arngrim. It's not the original cast. These are not the Ingolls. And when they talked about, they're going to bring a new grittiness to it. Like, oh, are we going to make this like 1883? Are we going to, be hit like this is like a hard in your face, rugged survivalist Western style, with this gritty realism? What people loved about Little House on the Prairie, and Michael Landon was a genius at this, he presented the Americana version of settling the West, and there was some softness to it. Now, he dealt with subjects like racism, but he knew how to deal with them in a very family-friendly, in a way that anyone watching it, Democrat, Republican, liberal, conservative, said yes. Is that going to be the intent of this new production? I highly doubt it. It's going to be this preachy, in-your-face, what? Willie's going to be transgender now? Are we going to find out that Dr. Baker and Lars Hansen were, these two old bachelors, were they special friends? And that's going to be described to Half Pint as well. Kind of like that fictional story Joe Biden loved to tell when he saw two men kissing, and his father in the 1950s looked at him and said, Joey, it's okay. They're in love. It's okay. Said nobody ever in that era, including a liberal. So we're gonna have to is Miss Beadle a lesbian? Did Harriet Olsen and Nels actually were they swingers on the side? I mean, what is the wokeism they're going to bring to us, and how are they going to present it? So Melissa Gilbert with a thing. We dealt with woke issues. No, you didn't. You dealt with current event issues and you put it into an historical context. But again, that would be like remaking Gone with the Wind. No, Clark Gable is Rhett Butler. That's Gone with the Wind. Be like remaking The Wizard of Oz. No, leave it alone. And Little House on the Prairie, leave it alone. In fact, she talked about how, it's streaming all over the world and blah, 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 blah. And even Netflix said yes. And here was the key why they're remaking it. Apparently in 2024, it got 13 billion, that's billion with a B, 13 billion hours of streaming time on the Peacock platform alone. And it's on other platforms. Money. What they think, see, people want more of the story. No, what they want is, in this woke culture where everything is constantly being slapped at us, and Hollywood has learned nothing since the election, which is why they're about to tank the Captain America movie. The American people are clamoring for, give me family-friendly entertainment and tell me a good story. Don't preach at me, and certainly don't give me your version of morality. I don't want that. So they gravitate now to older movies and to things like Little House on the Prairie because they know they can put their kids in front of it and it's fine. Why do I have a feeling that's not going to be the new Little House on the Prairie? And that was the point Megyn Kelly was trying to make and saying, if you woke this, I'm coming after you. And then Melissa Gilbert foolishly and stupidly, coming out and saying every episode of Little House on the Prairie was woke. No, it wasn't. See, you don't even understand what you're talking about. I still think you haven't gotten over being jealous of the fact that, most boys my age at that time thought and still do think that your sister was, hotter than you. I mean, you were pigtails and buck teeth. Yeah, sorry. You rank right up there with Nellie Olson. Sorry, not happening. I mean, there were storylines that were great. The little girl that had one leg shorter than the other, and Pa helped her out by making her a shoe so that both her legs were the same size. And, it dealt with things like, how mean kids can be to each other. And they didn't do it preachy. They presented a storyline that, as I said, anybody watching it would have to say, yeah, okay. And they did deal with subjects like, abuse and etc. But they did it within the historical context. We're going to have a biracial family moves to Walnut Grove, and at first everybody hates them, and eventually everybody just embraces them. And again, this is not about biracial couples. I have adult children who are biracially married. I'm talking about in the historical context of when Little House on the Prairie happened. Are we going to be accurate? Or are we going to present this fictionalized version, fantasy version of history that young people watching it for the first time will think, oh, well, this is really how it was, which in the end is only going to kill most of your arguments anyway, because people are going to be like, well, kind of like when they redid the movie Lady and the Tramp as live action, and the entire city was run by, the people that owned Lady were a biracial couple, and I believe the town had all these African American owned businesses. This was in the Midwest, the turn of the 20th century. Wait, where was this fictional place? When was this fictional place? Yeah.
Alrighty then.
Not to mention, there were a lot of episodes of Little House on the Prairie that were just kind of fun and lighthearted. You know, when the Ingolls went camping with the Olsons, and of course, Laura and Nellie apparently invented whitewater rafting. I mean, it was, they had the funny episodes, they had the tearjerker episodes, they had, they had a healthy mix and dynamic, and Michael Landon, even though the fact that his own spiritual beliefs didn't exactly align with a guy like Charles Ingolls, he portrayed it with respect, and Charles was kind of like the assistant pastor of the church at Walnut Grove. Will we get any of that out of the new series? Don't know, don't care, won't watch it. That's the bottom line. I was a big fan when Cobra Kai came out. Let's see where Daniel LaRusso and Johnny ended up. And that first season was great. And then they had to keep it going. And sorry to Ralph Macchio, you've turned that again into just caricatures of yourself and the story. And it's just gotten just beyond ridiculous. These gang fights that keep breaking out between the kids, but you keep defending Harati. Stop. With the new Little House on the Prairie, just stop before you get started. 13 billion hours of views are not because people are clamoring for more of the Ingolls. They're clamoring for more of those Ingolls. Those storylines. Those non-woke, family-friendly, softening it where it needs to be softened to make it palatable for everyone to watch, enjoy, and learn something without being preached at. And Melissa, you keep running your mouth about it was woke, and you'll start tanking those streaming numbers really fast.